Self-love is a practice of rewriting the voice inside. It says, you should be further along. You should know better. You are too sensitive. You're too much. You are falling behind. You need to fix this. You need to become better before you are allowed to relax. And for a very long time, people called that voice motivation. But very often it is just fear wearing a protective mask, a survival mask. This is why self-love is not only about being nice to yourself. It is about learning to hear that voice inside of you clearly enough to know when it is the truth, when it is pain, and when it is the old belief that no longer serves your life. When I talk about self-love, I'm not talking about a slogan. I'm talking about a relationship with your inner world. Because the real question is not only how do I take better care of myself, that the deeper question is, what am I believing about myself that keeps me from receiving love? This is where the work begins. Most people have been trained to think that self-criticism is useful, that if they are hard enough on themselves, they will improve. But research keeps showing just the opposite. Self-compassion and kinder self-responding are linked with less self-criticism, less anxiety, better emotional well-being, and to change in a substantial way. That means that voice that shames you is not exactly helping you. It's keeping you braced. And a braced nervous system cannot receive love very well. So one of the first steps to self-love is learning to notice that inner critic without becoming it. Not, how do I silence this part of me, but what is this part afraid of? This is a very different conversation. Self-love is asking you to stop building your life around proving your worth. Now that may sound simple, but it changes everything. Because if your values depend on performance, then every mistake becomes a threat, every delay becomes shame, and every comparison becomes an attack. Every relationship becomes a place where you seek confirmation instead of connection. Now, self-love interrupts that pattern. It says, I do not have to earn my right to exist. I do not have to exhaust myself to deserve tenderness, and I do not have to become flawless to be worthy of care. Now, this is freedom. A lot of people are trying to heal by becoming more disciplined, more productive, more organized, or more emotionally controlled. Now, those things can help, but they are not at the center. The center of this is I can meet myself honestly where I fail. Can I stay present when I feel shame? Can I soften instead of attack? Can I choose a belief that supports my life rather than takes away from my life in fear? This is where self-love becomes real. Not in the performance, but in the relationship with ourselves. Now, I once worked with a woman who was brilliant, capable, constantly exhausted by her own mind. And every time she made a mistake, she would spiral, not because the mistake was huge, but because the meaning she attached to it was brutal. One small misstep became, I'm irresponsible, I'm behind, I always do this, I'm not who I should be. So we started working with that belief, not just the behavior, and that changed everything. She began to see that she was not dealing with a lack of intelligence or effort. She was dealing with an internal system built around fear and self-correction through criticism. And once she could hear that clearly, she could now begin to answer it differently. Not with denial, but with truth. Not with fake positiveness, but with compassion and steadiness. And over time, she became less afraid of herself. This is self-love too. If you want to know why love feels distant, sometimes, if you want to know why love feels distant sometimes, look at the beliefs underneath it. I am too much. I'm not enough. I am hard to love. I must not need too much. I have to earn care. My feelings are a problem. If I slow down, I will fall apart. If I trust myself, I might get it wrong. These beliefs are not always obvious, and sometimes they hide beneath competency, kindness, humor, and achievement, but they shape how you receive life. And if those beliefs are still running slowly the show, self-love will feel out of reach no matter how many good habits you have. So this is why I believe self-love is not a mood. It's a decision to meet your life differently. It is the decision to pause before the old story takes over. It's a decision to ask, is this belief still true? It is the decision to stop treating your wounds as evidence against your worth. And perhaps most importantly, it is the decision to become a safe place for yourself. Because many of us have spent years looking for that safe place outside of ourselves, but healing asks us to build it within. That does not mean you do everything alone. It means you begin to stand on your own side. So if you're trying to learn how to love yourself, start here. Notice the voice, question the belief, offer compassion, choose truth, and then repeat. Self-love, not just taking care of your body, it's rewriting the story you tell yourself about who you are. And when that story changes, everything changes. Subscribe and like the video and become part of the heart-centered community as we keep exploring what self-love really is and how to live it. If you want to go deeper, my Return to Self 4-week private healing program, and it's designed for this kind of inner work. Love is your way back to yourself, and remember, love is your magic.